Welcome back, CSE 235, to part 4 of our ex9, our Flask intro, where we're just doing a little bit of Flask work just to get the feel of what it does and how it works. And we're going to style things a little bit so that we don't have to have a finished product that looks like this, which is very depressing after doing all that work and having something that looks very generic. And since we just worked with Bootstrap in the previous unit, we can do a little bit with Bootstrap in there and just let Bootstrap do the work for us. So what we're going to do is go here to our template and we're going to throw something in here. We'll throw a nav bar in our template. Now I'm going to go to Bootstrap, getbootstrap.com, and don't go to the docs yet. It's actually easier. I know on the earlier one we were copying things out of here and they were the right things, but it's actually easier if you just go to the front page, which is just getbootstrap.com, and scroll down, and they have the CDN links right here. And there's just the CSS one, which goes in your head tag, and it should be the first one. And then there's your script, which should be at the bottom of body. So let's do that. Let's copy this before we do anything else, and then we'll copy some code from Bootstrap and just use it as basic template work. So I'll copy that, and I'll go back here, and this will be in layout, and this will be in our head tag, and I'll just put it after the meta tags. So after the viewport here, I'll put this right here and I'll paste that. Now that's the CSS one, and I can see .css there. Now it doesn't look good right now because it's not breaking really nice, but let's go back here and let's get the JavaScript one, which is the script source one. So highlight that, make sure you get it all the way over, not part of it. Actually, what you could do, this is a lot easier. You can just copy this, and it's easier than trying to highlight it, and then go back here, and remember this will be for the end of body. So even if you want to put like an extra space here before body ends, we'll paste that right there. So there's our JavaScript from Bootstrap, and here's our CSS from Bootstrap. So that's all ready to go from their CDN, from their content delivery network. And now what you could do is go to Bootstrap and go to their docs, and we'll try to just plug something in without doing a whole lot of work with it. We'll just see if we could find a nav bar. So if you go down and you look for nav bar, which under components, here, let's go to nav bar, and we'll just grab the first basic one, and then we'll try to change the color a little bit. So here's the first nav bar, which does this, and we're going to try to change the color of it. So I'm going to highlight this, all of this, unless they have a button that copies it. Make sure you're not copying everything on the page. So I'm copying just that code, and that's the nav bar. And obviously we don't want to create all that ourselves. So let's copy that, and let's go back to our template and throw it in our template. Now where would it go in our template? Well, it would be before this block content stuff. So it'd be the first thing. So I'll even make an extra space, and I'll tab over, and I'll just paste it here. And I didn't put any container in yet. Oh wait, this has a container in the nav, but we can even put a container around this. We could go here, and let's just go here and say div.container, because then we can use our emit and hit tab, and then we'll wrap this. I'll just take this closing div, cut it, and put it here. So that'll style this block content using this container, so it will be responsive. So we have a nav bar, and we have this in here, and it's all in our layout. And our layout has the links to Bootstrap. So that should all get delivered to these pages. Well, let's see what happens. So we'll stop our server, and we'll run our server. And now I'm seeing something in there. Looks okay. Let's go here, and let's refresh. And there we have a nav bar, and it's responsive. Look at that. We have a responsive layout. And if we go to About, we have About Flask, so that's responsive as well. We have bigger margins here. The margins change as we go in. So we could try to make it look a little nicer. Let's go here and go down, and they have these color schemes, and I'm not even sure if this goes around it. I think it does. If we go down to these color schemes here, now you could change these nav bars to say something other than nav bar. You could change all of these things, but let's see if we could just grab one of these. Here's this kind of cool black one up here, or there's the blue one. The second one's the blue one. Now if you copy this, this should go around nav bar content. I mean, based on what I'm seeing here. So let's see. let's see if we put this and then we put nav at the end. Let's see if that colors that blue for us. So we'll go back to our template. And remember, we have to have a closing nav. So we'll go back to our template, and before everything starts, just make a line here, and I'll just paste that nav class, and then at the end I'll just do another, and we'll see if that works. If not, I'll double check it quick, but let's just see if that works, because again, I haven't tried adjusting the colors using these, but based on what's there, it looks like that would work, unless this has to be the first line in what we're doing up there. But it's not using the expand and all that. So that expand part that we use in here that makes it this, maybe that has to be in there. So we'll see in a minute. I guess we'll know when we go here and refresh it. Now, but again, before we refresh it, we want to stop it and run it. And that looks okay. Now I'm getting a little mix of things here. And let me refresh this. And that's kind of right. So I think we're getting a little mix here. So it's not working perfectly the way I set it up. But we are getting that blue color. So I'll have to mess with that a little bit. In the layout part, instead of having the brand as whatever it's called, navbar, you could just call that Flask and have that on there. And stop, run, and then go here. Now it says Flask, and you could change what these are, any of that. So although I do want to change, we're getting a mix of this dark background and this blue. So let me see if I can go fix that. So give me just a second. So all I did was just copy this one instead of using the primary one, just for now. I don't want, I'll explore it a little later going back to Bootstrap, but just copy this, and I may not even be doing this right. This may be in the first nav, but it's working okay. So if you copy this and you go back here and you put that over the very first nav that we have. Now I already did it, but if you put that over there, instead of having the one that says primary, using this one that's BG dark instead of BG primary, because it looks like it's doing the whole background area, and it was doing that in blue, and then it was still using the dark theme. So we still have some issues here with Bootstrap. But if you do that, and you stop it, and you run it, and you come back here, and you refresh it, it should look like this. So that's the original one that we're looking at in here. Now it's still using the green from the original, so it seems like it's mixing some things, so I'll check it out more. But for the purpose of what we're doing now, that's fine. You're seeing how we can incorporate Bootstrap in there. Of course, Bootstrap needs more time to work with it and understand how to do variations on it. You know, just reading this stuff, oh, well, navbar themes are easier thanks to this. They're not easy. I don't think this stuff is easy because everything looks the same and you don't know if this is repeated or not. And it doesn't give you a way to really just copy and paste things in. Now, if you want to try some other things, I'm not going to do this, but what you can do is if you go to Corey's video, and if you go to more, he has a GitHub with all the code, and he has some code snippets that he throws in there to make it real nice. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not, but I'm gonna stop here. But if you go in there, it'll take you to GitHub. Let me see if I go here right now, if I could find it. Open this in a new window. So let me open this in a new tab. And if you scroll down, and all his code here, I think he has a Python Flask blog. Here he has Flask blog. And if you go in here, I think he has some code snippets in here. There's code snippets, and he talks about some of those in there. Main.css, navigation.html. So he has some of these snippets in there if you want to try that, if you're watching his video. But for now, for part 4, we could stop right here. And if you got at least to this point, even if you got this mix of green, I'll see if I can change that a little bit, although it doesn't look that bad. But the green on the black doesn't look that great. But either way, you know, we saved a lot of time by doing this. Now, of course, you need some time to get your head around Bootstrap as well, to learn how to modify it so it doesn't just look like this. Now it's using its sans serif font and all that. But anyway, this is a good example of what you could do with this. Now his video series keeps going, and it starts working with a form so that you can edit the blog and add to the blog. I mean, that's really the engine of what's going to happen here. We're just kind of looking at the very surface here and just how this templating works. But the engine of what Flask can do is very powerful as far as communicating with the server, communicating with databases, all that kind of stuff. If you look at ChatGPT and you ask, can Python communicate with a database? It gives you all this information. It can communicate with all these types of databases, the NoSQL databases, MongoDB. So, and you have to use special libraries to communicate with those databases. But again, you have to use PHP to communicate with databases as well, even if you're using HTML and CSS and MySQL and all that. So there's a lot you can do here with Flask if it's something you want to dig into more. I don't know if you do. You may. It may be something that you're really interested in, but I don't want to go too far with Flask other than giving you just a little overview, because there's so many web development frameworks and template type systems that it's really hard to know what to really invest your time into. But I wanted to give you an overview of Flask. So hopefully this is a good kind of overview to get started with it. And I'll see if we have time. We might keep going with it. And we're also going to start with Node.js a little bit and explore that a little bit too. And again, that's such a huge area. We're not going to learn everything about it, but you want a little idea of how it works and just get familiar with some of the code. And we can do that in Replit as well. So for now, all you have to do for this is just send me that in your ex9. We'll keep it in Unit 9 for now, and then we'll work with Node.js in Unit 10, unless we do anything else with this, unless I kind of add on to this. But this will be part 4 video, will be the last one for this for now. So that's all you have to do for now. If you want to keep going and doing more, that's great. But for now, that's all you have to do for this exercise using Python Flask and working with the back end a little bit.